Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. Can everybody hear me and see me clearly? And do I have a scribe on deck? Can I get a brother to scribe for me? All right, I'm going to just get started. Reading the book of Job today. The book of Job. Just to let y'all know, Job is a very deep book. A book to wit I will not be explaining all of. Because it's some of that stuff is above my pay grade. So I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. So if you do have questions regarding the book of Job, you can inbox them to Iuic classrooms and they will be answered in the order received. All right. So starting off, Job chapter 1, verse 1. And it says, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. So this first verse is telling you who Job is, what land he lived in. And just because he lived in a land doesn't mean that he was of that nation, because he was a son of God. All right. Just like we live in America, but we're not Caucasians. They got brothers that live in Europe and they're not Caucasians, but they are the sons of God. Verse 2. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His sustenance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day. Remember what it says. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And so it was. Oh, and it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So when it says every man his day, they were talking about their birthdays. All right? Whenever somebody's birthday come around, what do they say? Oh, this is my day. This is my day. And now nowadays people have got to the point to where it's like, oh, this is my month. Oh, this is my birthday month. My birthday is in this month, so I'm celebrating the whole month. Same thing with this. Watch this. Go to Job chapter 8, verse 4. Job chapter 8, verse 4. It says, if thy children have sinned against him, and he have cast them away for their transgression, if thou wouldest seek unto God, betimes, and make thy supplication to the Almighty, if it were pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee, and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end shall greatly increase. So what Bildad right here was saying was, if your children sinned against God, he's going to take them away. What was their sin? They were celebrating their birthdays. That was the sin. That was the sin that they were doing. They were celebrating their birthdays, which is not a custom of Israel. Back to Job 1. Job 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. When it says the sons of God, let's see. All right, go to Exodus chapter 23, verse 17 real quick. Exodus chapter 23, verse 17 says, 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord. It's the same thing it's saying in Job. So in the book of Exodus, it said 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord. Verse 6 again, Job 1 and 6. It says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. So it was talking about the line of the sons of God, the line of the lineage of Adam. Before we were called Israelites, we were called the sons of God. Even still today, we are called the sons of the living God. So this is talking about the same thing. It's not just talking about angels alone. All right. Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, when comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? So this is Satan talking to the Lord. The Lord says, have you considered my servant Job? Like, have you ever tried Job? You walking up and down the earth, have you tried my servant? Because he's an upright man. That's the same thing with us today. Every time we go through something and we do, the more good works you do, the harder Satan come at you. It seems like when you fast, the trials get worse. It's because you are showing God that you're upright through your fasting. You're showing him that you're striving, that you're attempting to be that righteous vessel that he wants you to be. You're putting in the work that he needs you to put in. So then In order to see how strong you are, Satan is going to try you. And he's always going to go to the Lord for permission. Watch verse 9. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? So Satan was like, does Job fear you for no reason? For nothing? Hast not thou made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. So Satan is telling the Most High, he's like, look, Satan is only worshiping you because you give him a lot of stuff. Bet you. I bet you if you didn't give him all of that he wouldn't feel the same way. That's the same thing with us today. When everything is going good, you don't hear nothing. You don't hear nothing from us. As soon as things go bad, that's when we start complaining and moaning and groaning. But the book of Job is sit here for us to learn from. All right, it's a very deep book, but when the understanding comes out, that thing goes directly in line with Israel. Verse 11. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan is telling God, look, Job is going to curse you to your face if you take what you gave him away. I bet you he curse you to your face. Verse 12. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So in Christianity, they teach that Satan and God had a fight. And Satan rebelled against God and took a third of the angels with him. And they just rebelled and went to go do their own thing. That doesn't sound like that right here. It sounds like Job was the subject of discussion between Satan and the Lord. And Satan needed permission from the Lord to mess with him. The Lord gave Satan permission, clearance to mess with Job. Satan didn't do it by himself. A lot of times in Christianity, they always think that everything bad comes from the devil and everything good comes from God. Wrong you are. Both good and evil come from the Lord. Who do you think controls Satan? Satan is not no free spirit out here just doing his own thing. He's subject to God, much like us. Much like us. Watch this. Let me see something. I'm going to show you that real quick. The book of James. The book of James. Wrong book. All right, James chapter, watch this. James 2 and 19. James 2 and 19. It says, thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. So the devils believe that there's a God, but the thing is there's difference between us and the devils. The devils actually tremble at the name of the Lord, at the fear of God. We don't. In our flesh, in this flesh, our people have a tendency to not fear God. The devils know that there's a Lord. The devils know that there's a God, and they know who he is and what he's about. And they tremble for fear of him. Same thing that Satan does. Satan asks permission. Why? Because the devils tremble as well. Back to Job. Just to show you, these spirits, they don't do their own thing. These spirits do not do their own thing. Verse 13. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding sheep beside them. And the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So, Job just lost his oxen. All right, Job just lost his oxen. So the Sabeans came through, killed the servants, and one thing happened. This was the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. So the Sabeans took the oxen away, and they killed Job's servants. All right, so keep that in mind. It's one problem. Verse 16. While he was yet speaking, meaning while he was in the middle of a sentence, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped to tell thee. So this is problem number 2. So he lost his oxen from the Sabeans, and they killed some of Job's servants. Fire came down from heaven and burned up the sheep and killed some of the servants. That's problem number 2. Verse 18. Verse 17. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking. Now remember, this is all problems that are happening with Job, all at the same time. Verse 18, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So Job just lost his substance. He just lost his cattle. He just lost his servants. And he just lost his children. Job just lost everything. Why? Because the devil was able, with the permission of the Lord, to put his hand on Job, to try Job. To try Job. Why? Because that's what we need as Israelites. When we talk, when we do certain things, the Lord give us certain things, you got to try them in order to see if their heart is still going to be the same way. Watch this. Go to Proverbs 30. Proverbs chapter 30 and 8. Proverbs 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Why is he saying that? We're going to read on. Lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal and take the name of my God in vain. So when we're given certain things, we could get given certain things and we get high-minded. Like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm straight, I don't need nothing else. You know, can't nobody tell me nothing. No. Are you still going to have that same heart towards God if you lose it all? Are you still going to have that same heart towards God if the things that he gave you, he took it away from you? Some people have had everything taken away from them. And then they appreciate what they have even more once they get it. Why? Because they know where it came from. Because they know that they lost it before. And the only way that they got it back is the Lord on high gave it to them. Back to Job. Chapter 1, verse 29. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell upon the ground and worshipped. and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. So Job understood it. Everything that we have comes from the Lord. Everything that we get, it comes from the Lord. Watch this. We'll go to the book of Isaiah. We're going to hear from yet another prophet. Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So Job understood that. Job understood, yeah, bad things may have happened, but all of this is of the Lord. What good is it? Because what good is it for us to blame God for stuff that we lose, and He can give it right back to you? If you can't get it yourself, which there is nothing in this world that you can get yourself without the help of the Lord, unless you're going to serve Satan and he give it to you. But do you really want to pay that price? So even still, it was the Lord that gave it to you, because the Lord handed you over to Satan. So He put that stumbling block before you, and you fell over and you never recovered yourself. But this is what happens in our lives. The same thing that happens with Job, it happens with us. Satan goes to God and it's like, yo, what about this brother? What about that sister? Oh yeah, you just gave her a job, but hey, I bet you if they start hounding her at work, I bet you she gonna start questioning this truth stuff. Or hey, yeah, I know this brother just doing this, he doing that. Hey, make a little beef in the congregation for him. I bet you when people start talking bad about him in the congregation, I bet you he fall out. I bet you he leave. Gotta remember, we're being tried at all times. We try each other. We try each other. How do you know somebody's gonna be down for the cause? Through trial and tribulation. How does the Lord know that we're gonna be down with Him? Through trial and tribulation. Most people don't like that. But it's not about what you like. Job chapter 2 verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. So the Lord is bragging, he's boasting, like, look, even though you made me go after Job for no reason at all, he's still standing strong. He's still handling his business. We have to allow God to brag on us. We have to. We have to. It's the same thing with all our enemies watching online. You got to give the Lord a chance to brag on you. Verse 4, And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man have will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. So he's like, yeah, possessions is possessions. Whatever. Brother could lose a car, brother could lose a job, brother could lose, family members, whatever. But I bet you if his health is afflicted, I bet you he curse you to your face. Because that's another thing that gets us. Yeah, we'll lose this, we'll lose that, we'll lose this. Because there's a lot of us whose material things aren't your stronghold. They aren't your vice. You may have a lot of material things and it's nothing to you. Even if you lost it today, it wouldn't do you nothing. But your health, that's your trial. Because as soon as you get sick or something is wrong with you, you think it's the end of the world. or you think that there's something wrong with you, you did something. Maybe the Lord is doing this to you so that you can be a shining light to somebody that's going through the same thing. Maybe your faith in the Lord and seeing how the Lord dealt with you in your sickness could give somebody else hope in their sickness. You got to understand, a lot of our trials is not just for us. Like we read a lot of people that go through trials. If you're not reading Sirach, the 2nd chapter, we read in the book of Job. Why? Because Job went through trials. Job went through things that we go through ourselves. Verse 6. Yes, verse 6. The Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So the Lord said, all right, touch him, but don't kill him. That doesn't sound like somebody that's rebellious against God. That means he took orders. Satan took orders, just like we take orders. God says, do this, we do it. He says, don't do this, we don't do it. Period. Verse 7. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. And what is the other test that brothers get? So he had all of his material possessions taken away. He had his children taken away. His health started to get afflicted. And then his wife said, look, just curse God and die. Really? Why? Because Satan is going to come through your woman. If he can't get to you, he's going to come through her. Look at what he did with Adam. Satan wasn't going to be able to get past Adam. No. So what did he do? He backdoored and went to Eve. Same thing here. It wasn't that just Satan smote Job with boils. Satan also was in his woman too. Also within his woman too. Why? Because a lot of men, we get emotional behind our woman. And whatever our woman say, we go follow it. Instead of checking her. Like this. Verse 10. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good? Shall we receive good at the hand of God? And shall not we receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. So he said, woman, you sound foolish. You speak like one of them foolish women out there. So were we only going to get good from God and not evil? Is that what you're saying? That's what we tell people all the time. So what you think, everything good come from God and everything evil come from Satan? Nothing evil can come from God. Like he doesn't do none of that. But we just read in Isaiah 45:7 that he does create evil. He does create peace. God is a man of war. He creates life and death. Yes, he does all of this. Nothing happens without the Lord doing it. Nothing. Everything asks for permission. Verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that came upon him, they came every one from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off, he knew him not. And knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. And they rent every man his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. So, much like us, our friends hear of our affliction, and they come to lend their support. They come to give their helping hand, and they try to, uplift you, cheer you up, give you some correction, give you harsh reality, give you hard truth, whatever our people do. And we're not talking about people that come around and butter you up knowing that you're in the wrong. No, we're talking about people that's going to give you straight facts about what's going on with you. Like, hey, man, maybe this happened because of this. Maybe this happened because of that. You know what I'm saying? Make you examine yourself. So this is what Job's friends are doing. And this, a lot of times, is what confuses everybody when they read the book of Job, because it's conversations between Job and his three friends. And you're going to see how the conversation goes. You have to read Job several times. It's not just going to be you read it once and then you got it. You have to read Job a lot in order to get the context of the conversation. So, Job chapter 3, verse 1. After this, opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. What did he do? He cursed his day. Why did he curse his day? Because his children were celebrating their day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which was said, there is a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness, and let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. So Job is actually going in on his birthday. That's why we say, to hell with our birthday. Our birthday will mean nothing. The scriptures say better is the day of one's death than the day of one's birth. Because when you born, you ain't did no works yet. When you die, that's when people remember your works. That's when people remember what you did and what kind of person you was and all of that stuff. It's not when you're born. Verse 5. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined into the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for a light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me, or why the breast that I should suck? For now I should have lain still and been quiet. I should have slept, then I had been at rest. So Job was like, man, I should have died I should have died at my birth. I should have died stillborn. I should have died in the womb. Like, he's not cursing nothing else but his birth right here. Like, all the stuff that he's going through, he's like, man, I just should have never been born. Verse 14. With kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or as an hidden untimely birth had I not been, as infants which never saw light. So he's talking about miscarriages. Like, why wasn't I miscarried? Why did I have to be born? Why did I have to come into this world? The wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. It's talking about death now. When it says the wicked cease from troubling, meaning when wicked people die, that's it. They're dead. They can do no more wrong. When all of these people, when the wicked die, when Esau is dead, the earth is not going to be troubled anymore. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor, which is why in New Orleans there is a celebration when people die. They call it a second line. And it goes all the way back into slave times that they're celebrating the fact that what verse 18 just said, there the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. So they are celebrating the fact that they're not in slavery anymore. That's the purpose behind the second line. You're celebrating the fact that they don't have to deal with this life anymore. Verse 19. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul. Verse 21, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures. So the people that are going through misery, the people that are going through trouble, they look for death. And it's got to be some serious, serious trouble and anguish and pain that you're in order for you to only think about dying. Like, you know what, I'll just let me die instead of dealing with all of this. And some of us have gone through certain situations in life where it's like, you know what, I would just rather just be dead right now. But sometimes this is our lot. Sometimes we go through things like that in order for us to be stronger. Verse 22, which rejoice, let me read 21 again, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave. So when people oftentimes, like, if any of y'all have had like a grandmother that was very, very, very old, or aunt or uncle that was very, very old, and you know they've been going to the doctors for years, they've been taking medicine, they got the little pill thing for 7 days of the week, they've been going to dialysis, they've been getting blood transfusions, they've been getting chemo, all of that stuff. After a while, they be ready to leave. They be ready to go. They be like, you know what? Look, I don't want to go no more. Like, I know personally, like one of my family members, she was just like, you know what? I'm not going back there no more. I'm not going back there no more. Whatever happens is going to happen. So when it says, which rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave, that's a lot of people when they go through affliction, especially when it in regards to their health. They look for death. They're like, you know what? Because the scriptures say death is better than continual sickness. So when they look for death, it's like, you know what? It's better for me to just die than to sit here and be sick all of this time. Verse 23. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, in whom God hath hedged in? For my sign cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. So Job is basically looking like, man, forget the day I was born, just curse that day altogether. I should have died from the womb. I should not even be here. I should have been a miscarried baby. I should have been stillborn. You know, why is light given to them that are in misery? Like, why are we living if we live in misery? Why are we even here to live in misery? Why is light given to a man whose way is hid and whom God hath hedged in? Like, you don't know where you're going from day to day. So why do we even have this life? What is the purpose of all of this? Like, I didn't do like the last verse. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. Like, It wasn't like everything was going hunky-dory for me. His kids, they were celebrating their birthdays constantly. He was constantly giving sacrifice for them, you know. So it's like it wasn't like he had like this life where nothing was going wrong. He was going through some stuff already, and yet trouble came. It's like, man, what am I doing wrong? Job chapter 4, verse 1. This is a lot of us. A lot of us think that. A lot of us think, oh, well, I didn't do nothing wrong, so why is this happening to me? And why me? And why this? And why that? And, you know, which is a common fleshly response to a lot of things that we go through. But we have to sometimes take a step back and see who's in control of everything and for what purpose he's in control of it. Sometimes we may never find a purpose because his thoughts ain't our thoughts. But there's certain things that we're going to have to go through in this life and in this truth. It's just what it is. we have no control over that. Last chapter, chapter 4, verse 1. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? So Eliphaz is like, all right, if we start, you know, is it all like, because you know how you go to visit somebody that's sick and it's like you don't want to say the wrong thing and you don't know what to say. Sometimes you don't know what to say because you don't want to make them mad. I've seen situations where people get upset because, you know, you're there and you're talking to them and they don't even want to hear about their sickness. They don't want to hear nothing about that. But you got to talk about it because that's the reason why y'all there in the first place. If we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? It's like we just can't sit here and say nothing. Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that was fallen, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it has come upon thee, and thou faintest. It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. That right there, that cut me. That cut me. A lot of times we go through things in life and we see other people go through things in life and we can give them the scriptures. We can give them 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. And we can give them Sirach chapter 2. And, you know, we can go through even the book of Job. We can go through Deuteronomy 28 and we can see, you know, where we will be going through trials, where we will be going through tribulation. And, you know, we can uplift those people and we can, you know, be the strongest person out there. But then as soon as a trial or a tribulation come to us, that's when we fall apart. And that's what Eliphaz was asking. He said, verse 4 again, thy words have upholden him that was fallen. Thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it has come upon thee, and thou faintest. It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. Like, now trial is coming towards you, Job, and now you're falling apart. That's us. That's what we go through. We do this. The book of Job is one of the realest books that I've ever read before. Like it's one of the things that you can look at and you can see yourself in it, because it's like, you right. Like I can give 1,000 scriptures to brothers to uplift them, but as soon as something come my way, I'm not myself going to go. I'm myself and not going to go and look in the Bible and see, damn, I need to strengthen myself in this. You know what I'm saying? Or you can call a brother or a sister and they can help strengthen you. But this is some real stuff right here. This is some real stuff right here. Verse 6. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and the uprightness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. So Eliphaz is like, look, I mean, you used to uplift people. And now trouble is coming upon you, and now you about to lose your mind. But, I mean, you know, whoever did anything being innocent, whoever got any of this being innocent, maybe you did something. And sometimes Our friends will tell us that. Maybe you did something. Maybe it was something you did. And sometimes it is something we did. Sometimes it is. But a lot of times, it's not nothing that we did. It's for us to go through something because we can handle it, because God knows how strong we are. And it's for us to go through it so that we can actually make it through it and be that shining example to the next person. Sister got health issues. She gets past those health issues. She learns how to eat better. She learns how to exercise, take care of her body. So that way, when the next sister comes in with them same health issues, she can help. Sis, this is what you do. Sis, this is how you do this. Or you dealing with that? I had it too. This is how you deal with it. Brothers the same way. Oh, brother, you was dealing with lust. This is how I got through it. Or you was dealing with this. This is how I got through it. Oh, you one of them brothers that keep things bottled up. You don't know how to break that. Well, I used to deal with that too. This is what you do. This is how you get out of it. Sometimes that's what it's for. Let me see. Left off on verse 9. I'm gonna read verse 8 again. Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils they are consumed. The roaring of the lion, and the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perished for lack of prey, and the stout lion's whelps are scattered abroad. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. In thoughts from visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men. So now it's talking about the dreams that we have. All right, and Bishop touched on this a while back. That's why, when it comes to the book of Job, I am proud to say I don't know all of Job. So if you got questions, you can go ahead and inbox them to Iuic Classrooms, and the captains will answer them in the order received. Verse 14. I'm going to read verse 13 again. In thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, fear came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then a spirit passed before my face. The hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his Maker? Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning to evening. They perish forever without any regarding it. Doth not their excellency which is in them go away? They die, even without wisdom. So Eliphaz is basically telling Job, like, look, maybe it's something that you did. Maybe it's something that you got going on. Maybe it's something that you need to examine yourself with. And that's where it ends. So, as I said earlier, I explained what I knew. If y'all have questions, please inbox them. All right, to Iuic Classrooms. I don't know a lot of Job. I have speculations, and I haven't gotten a chance to like sit down and talk with leadership about the questions that I've had. So, if y'all got questions, inbox them. Somebody will definitely get back to you with an answer. All right, and that is going to conclude the 4 chapters for today. I pray everybody has a wonderful opening of the feast. Feast and be glad, because Esau is mad as hell right now. That Memphis march that what we did recently in Memphis, with just the few that we had. That when we did in Memphis, that thing, might as well call that the Gideon Memphis March, because with a few hundred, we messing some people faces up. All praise to the Lord for that. All praises to the Lord. So happy feast of dedication to y'all. Lord's will, everything goes smooth for everybody. Most High Christ bless.